All right, in the fourth action that takes place in the Unsoku that we watch in the old video, we see Mr. Tomiki moving in what we think of, or what I usually describe as a goblet step. I'm making like a curved action with the feet. There's a little distinctive change that I notice in it, or two of them, three of them. He's going fast, the first. He's also moving tight to this line. In other words, he's not moving out in a large outward turn. He's moving, boom, fairly tight. And there's also this little change in structure. Rather than coming into a perfectly vertical state with posture, there's a little shift that's happening. You see the little shift? It's happening right from the ankles and the feet. It's bending, so my whole posture tips slightly forward in this line. Like you took a sheet of plywood and you just tilted it just slightly on its side to lean it against a wall. The little change that's happening there basically is coming all the way from the balls of the feet through the ankles, tipping slightly forward. It's basically coming up on the edge of where you would be forced to make another step. So if you tilt your posture in a static position like this, I'm square on my feet and just slightly rock forward, you'll feel your ankles engage, you feel the balls of your feet engage, you feel your calves engage, your thighs, your low back, and everything just has to brace and bridge to maintain it. It's not a static position, but as a dynamic position, it's very useful in terms of inputting or leaning your posture into him to deliver energy. And this is a quality that I hadn't really noticed in our work before. If you take this and apply it, again in a judo context, we get our partner and we're doing the forward turning action like this, and I come right at him but have this little change in posture. It really distorts him. If I make that same postural move, but I keep upright posture, well, I get a little change with the guy. Boom, like this. But when my posture distorts, whew, coming right from the toes on up, you can see how it affects his body. Again, moving out, down to the level of the elbows or so. We have a little bit of distance now. Boom, but you see how it lays it on him. Down to the level of the wrists and hands, taking that step, lays it on him. Can also make it very small. Say, okay, just, oh, sorry, I lost it. There we go. Ha! Very small actions and pivoting that also place it on him. One way that you can very readily see the difference in this is if you take a technique like kotegaeshi, for instance. And we have kotegaeshi, we have a finite amount of pressure that we're placing in our hands. So we're not going to alter, I'm not going to change the pressure gradient at the hands. Basically, I'm just holding the lock at its full range of motion so that as I turn, if I maintain regular upright posture, we see a little distortion. He feels a little change in pressure like this. It goes up to the shoulder. If I turn and I pitch up or pitch in, I think of it as tilting or pitching in. Boom, wow, the posture creates a whole different vector. The line of drop is no longer just twisting here, but it's now imputing a line that's heading toward the floor. So we're beginning to understand a way of invoking body drop on the fly. It's very popular in the Aikido world, in some parts of the Aikido world, to invoke this by bending the posture this way. If you bend with the hip to do this, to get this sort of body dropping action, you turn over here and bend down like this, well, you will put body drop vector into it, but you sacrifice the ability to keep the feet in motion. It's what we know from judo when we operate right here on this line, on this sharp edge of posture, that you can certainly continue to move from there. But it's much more difficult if I bend over and try to move from here. My feet start becoming stochastic, a little clunky. It's hard to get them to move freely. And yet when you come up to here, in this little postural engagement, all the way from the toes, ankles, balls of the feet, coming up through the calves, you're basically on a tightrope that you can continue to operate around on the edge of. But man, you do the same thing with the job, bending the posture at the hips, you lose it. So this is a very interesting little tool. He does the forward steps, small tilt, small tilt. He does the next two actions in backward step with the big goblet action, big turning action, and he does them very large, and the tilt is even more exaggerated. So my body's planing out even further with those very big steps. Then he does something very interesting, and he takes a small version of the same action, the backward steps. So he's showing us the contrast between moving in a very tight turn and how much angle you wind up with versus moving in a very large turn and how much angle. And this feels very much like when you get engaged in randori, in judo, and you're really moving with the guy, how the bodies go from being fairly upright in their natural posture to start opening and opening, so that you're working in this very expanded sort of feeling. The center of gravity, as you step back, falls out into space out here. And this will feel, how it imputes rotation into him automatically just by expanding out. You do it very tight, you say, man, wow, the little back step starts putting him in a hole. Right here. Starts just laying him down. So you can work with this both in terms of the size of step and also in terms of how much of the postural distortion, in terms of that tilting that you want to place into the action, and see what it's like. So go ahead and do maybe a back step with me. Go ahead. Boom. Good. Now, as you do it, feel that leading with the hip a little and just a little jack in posture as you come up. Whoa, yeah, right. Now all the way out here. Go ahead. Woo, even worse. Good. Try a small one. Yeah, right. So it begins to load me almost immediately. Now as you do it, you'll notice differences too. That if you try to go over here in posture, then tilt, it'll be very different than if you are working right from the beginning of engaging that whole set of postural muscles up from the balls of the feet, the calves, and this right from the beginning of the step. At the beginning of the step, woo, you get the maximal result on the guy. If I wait, and then invoke it, it has a feeling of kind of a lag, and you don't quite see the same results. In a pure Aikido context, this feels a whole lot like what we see in the Big Ten, the rotation into Guruma. It feels a whole lot like what we see in just placing our center on somebody automatically. And again, one could do very similar just by changing at the hip. But we have to remember that that context of it does inhibit the foot action, and your mobility goes down. Tomiki very obviously wanted to have this capacity built into the system in terms of placing the weight down and forward in this vector, but without sacrificing the ability to move the feet freely in all directions. So play with it and see how it works for you. Thank you.